Hello, all. Welcome back to the podcast. I am Emma. I am an animal communicator, healer, and teacher. I am a guide for humans who are on their path back to themselves. I am a messenger for Mama G, aka Gaia, Mother Earth, and I am a conduit for the divine, aka Divine Masculine, God, Spirit, Source. So I'm so happy to be back here. And the name of this podcast will be changing. What it will be changing to, I'm not clear on yet. And so that is why I am not welcoming you to a specific thing because I'm not sure what it is. And while I was communicating and connecting with Mama G this morning, there was a real message around you need to just do it. You need to start, you need to get this message out, use your voice and the platform and everything, and stop delaying for everything to be perfect and just let it be. So we are letting it be, and we are seeing where we're going with this. And why I say the name of the podcast is going to be changing. Well, because it is, but also because the focus of this podcast is also changing in that instead of this podcast being specifically for lessons from our animals, right? The messages that I receive from animals in sessions that I feel are really important for us all to really understand and to know is expanding. So yes, there's definitely still going to be a animal component to this podcast because I heard you have a few that I'm like, these really need to get out there. And because I am many things, right? As I was starting, I'm like, I'm an animal communicator. I'm this, I am this, I am this, I am this. This podcast needs to represent that because I have so much more to share and to say than only the messages that are received from animals. So that is kind of what is happening here. There has been so much happening since the last time I uploaded something, uploaded an episode here, and I'm sure is the same for anyone and everyone listening. As a reminder, right, in 2025, this is November of 2025, so we are at the end of a universal year 9. And so I'm talking about numerology if you are a numerology person. If not, welcome. I'm not very like well versed in it, and I find I find that it provides even more clarity, right? Like I love all these different tools for the additional layer of clarity or comfort or understanding that it can bring to my life, to my experience. And that's what this does for me. And so Universal Year 9 is all about endings for like the big majority, right? It's not all of it. It's just it is a big part of it. It's wrapping up things. It's the divine ending to then start anew, right? Because in numerology it goes from 1 to 9 and then we start back at 1. So we're in a Universal Year 9 that we're then 2026 going to be in a universal year 1. So we are in the space of creating space for the newness that will be coming in 2026. And this is at a collective level. So you personally are also going through a maybe different number type of year. And each number um, carries a different energy with it. So we're all in a universal 9. And personally, you might be in a personal year 2, or a personal year 8, or a personal year 5, which is what I'm in. And those all carry a different energy. So if you're like, how do I learn this? Or what does this mean? Or how do I calculate this? You calculate, so the way that you get the universal 9 year is by adding up 2025. So you add each individual number. So 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 5. And then you condense down to one number, unless it's a 11 or 22 or a 33. But usually it's not. So then you condense it down to one number. So 2025, you don't actually have to condense it because 5 plus 2 plus 2 is 9. So, in order to get your personal year, you would then add your birth month and your birth day. So, if say you were born today, November 4th, you would add 1 plus 1 plus 0 plus 4. So that would be 6. And then you do 6 plus, oh, no, no, sorry, personal year. Personal. So you do that, but then you also do it for your birth year. So what if you were born in 1987, then you would do, 6 plus 1 plus 9 plus 8 plus 7. I can't do that math in my head. So then you would take that number if it's not an 11, 22, or 33, and then you would add those two numbers together until you got down to somewhere between 1 to 9. And that would be your personal year. And then you can Google. You can search online, you can ask ChatGPT, what does a personal year blah mean in numerology? And then it can give you that. So anyway, wow, this is like a big tangent that I wasn't expecting to go on or talk about. And that's another part of it. I don't know if I'll be uploading this video anywhere, but I'm in my like morning clothes, my dog walking clothes, because there was also like, well, I should change. And I don't if you know me, I don't love the word should. Anytime I hear should, I rarely say should. It's usually very intentional when I do say it. It's like a moment of stopping and being like, ooh, okay. Isn't that interesting that this person, is making this assumption about what I need to do in my life or what I need to feel in my life or whatever, right? Like that's kind of what a should is somebody else's assumption about you and your life and your decisions, your whatever. And if I have learned anything about communicating with animals, is that assuming is so unhelpful because you can assume all day long, but you don't actually know until you ask. So you don't know what somebody is feeling or thinking or doing unless you ask them what they're feeling, thinking, or doing. And then they can lie to you or not, but like you assuming is unhelpful, right? So I'm not sure where I was going with that. Oh, about just like what it looks like. So again, the message from Mama G this morning was very much around the lines of like, you got to just do it. It can be messy, let's let it be, and just see where it goes. Like it's this. So from a human design perspective, I'm talking about the profile for a second. For anybody who has a 3 or a 6 in their profile, we are people that need to do first, right? So we learn by doing, and our life is meant to be about trial and error. And it's not about having all the information first before doing. It's about allowing that information to come through the doing. So you may not know what you like or the way you may not know. Oh, it must be so much energy. You may not know what you like or how you want to do something until you start to do it. And you just thinking about it or planning about it may not actually get you to that place. And so it's having this very different kind of relationship with doing and understanding and finalizing things because you may not get to finalize something until you are into doing it for a bit to then be like, okay, yes, like this is the way I like to do it. Like if you are an entrepreneur or offer sessions or have a business or anything, you likely are somebody who is going to need to just like start doing stuff to figure out your way of doing it and being really okay with doing it and being like, oh, that wasn't it. That wasn't the way. That's actually not for me. And I need to do it in this other way. So that's like part of this too, is like the 6 in me is like, let's just do it and Mama G. And then like you can fine tune it, you can make it look pretty, you can decide how you want it to look or feel or whatever, like as you get on with it. But like all of that doesn't actually really matter as much as the content. Yes, that stuff matters in order to get it in front of the right people or the amount of people or all of that. And you can have all of that, but then not have the thing that is needed to like change their life, right? And so, all right, I've like already gotten so off topic here. Okay, so with all that being said, what I came here to actually talk about. So recently I held a Beyond the Veil experience event, and it was something that you were given access to or a ticket to if you bought a Beyond the Veil reading, which was me connecting in with animals who are no longer living. and just seeing what they had to share with their people. And, or if you're a part of Reconnect, which is my membership. And it was so, it's so fun because this time of year, right? Especially in the Northern Hemisphere, I'm not sure, probably not in the Southern Hemisphere because it feels like it's much more a like fall time of year where it's like the veil is thin, right? We talk, we all love talking about how like the veil is thin and, like communicating is so easy. And so that is the reason why I put the event together was for all of us to get to have this experience of connecting and communicating with somebody beyond the veil. And as always, Mama G and the Divine also had messages to share with those who attended the event. And I want to share Mama G's message with you all here now because it's a kind of a springboard off of what we're going to like talk more about and see kind of where this conversation goes. And I don't know exactly where it's going to go. It just feels really important for us to have this conversation and to shift a perspective. And as we were on the call, some things were coming through that I was like, oh, like this makes that I don't know. I'm sure most of you have had this experience where like you're having this conversation or somebody says something or you say something and you're like, oh, it's so obvious now. Like I didn't see it before, or I didn't, I wasn't consciously thinking about it. And so it just like was in the background. But now that it's been said, or now that I've said it, it's like, oh, like I can't unsee it. I can't unknow it. And it's so obvious. Like, oh, of course. And yet I wouldn't have said that had it not been prompted, or had somebody not said that, I wouldn't have thought about it in that way. Though now that you say it, it makes so much sense, right? And so, beyond the veil, right? It's this conversation with those who are no longer living. It's a conversation with the dead. It's a conversation with those in spirit. And the messages from both Mama G and the Divine were very similar in their, well, I'll just read it. They're very similar, and then we'll go from there. So this is what Mama G said. And if I haven't said this before, Mama G is my what I call my name for Gaia, Mother Earth. She has a myriad number of names. Okay, so this was her message. Beyond the Veil is a really beautiful place, and I would love for all of you, sorry, she said, I would love for you all to have a better relationship with it. Scratch that. I would love for you to have a relationship with it at all. It is something so many of you fear, and that is because you fear mortality, which is a minuscule part of your journey. So many of you have been in a physical body countless times before, and yet each time there can be this deep-seated fear of the unknown of death. It is only unknown because you haven't gotten to know it. You haven't welcomed it in. You haven't gotten to know the other side of it because there is life beyond the veil. There is such vibrant life. It is not death. It is not cold. It is not ruin. It is vibrant, exuberant, and joyful. There is peace and community. So much community. During your physical life, get to know the life beyond the veil because it is there thriving, awaiting your return. Because that is where it all starts and ends, where the cycle begins and ends. There's no escaping it, and many don't want to escape it either. Spend time now getting to know and forming a relationship with the life beyond. There is so much you gain from that type of relationship. There is so much you will not be able to comprehend because of your human body and mind, but there is much you will. I look forward to watching you on this journey. Much love, Mama G. And I love this so much because, right? Like, yes, how many of us fear this unknown, fear what happens after we die, fear what happens to our animals after we die? We have this like massive mourning, that happens in grief, right? That happens when we lose somebody and it's like, oh, well, now they're no longer here and they're gone forever. And like, I no longer have a relationship with them. When in reality, we can have almost sometimes a deeper relationship with them because it can be more pure. It can be more honest. It can be more open than it was when they were in their living body. Because, right, as humans, we can be so great at having conditioning and feeling like we're supposed to be something and we should show up a certain way and that we're supposed to act a certain way and that in order to earn love, we have to XYZ. And, there's just like, there's so many beliefs and there can be so many experiences and actions that have happened in the past that just like we can't get past in the present in our physical experience. And yet, when one is beyond the veil, it becomes this more pure, open, honest, kind of transcendent type of relationship because you can be raw, you can be open. There is no fear of it shifting your relationship because their relationship in the physical is different, right? There's somehow lack of threat of changing the relationship versus when they're in the physical, right? We feel like we have maybe more control when we're communicating with them beyond the veil versus in the veil, right? Or versus like in the physical. And so allowing ourselves to start to have this kind of get to know what is on the other side. So the veil, the way that I kind of see it, if you will, which I don't actually see it, but the way that I kind of, envision it, I guess, is the barrier, right? This like translucent-ish wall, this malleable wall that breaks up our world from the next, right? And I think there's many of them. I think there's plenty of them, and there's not just one veil, there's a million veils, right? There's countless, endless veils and worlds that are beyond this one that we are currently in. And so you get to decide if you want to have a relationship with anyone beyond any of the veils, right? And the way you go about that is it's going to be so personal, right? My belief is that your way is the right way and that somebody who says this is how you do it and the only way you do it is maybe not it, right? It's not that that can't be a way and it's not the only way. And the more that we put out this messaging that's like, this is the way, and there's only one way, and this is how you have to do it in order for it to be correct, it's like, well, hold on. This is your way of doing it, which is awesome and great that you found it. Like, that's amazing. And everyone is going to have their own way of connecting with beyond the veil because we all receive messages in slightly different ways. We all are going to get to that connection in different ways also, right? Even if it's the same way, there's likely going to be differences, right? And what I mean by that is, there might be five of us that are all communicating and connecting with someone beyond the veil through meditation. And yet, our way of getting there through meditation likely is going to look a little bit different. And that's because our way is our way, right? And that is my big thing here, or one of my big things here is like helping people find their way, right? Helping you understand that your way is the right way for you, in that following somebody else because that is how you're supposed to do it is likely not going to yield the same type of results. And that if you actually allow yourself to lean into your way, it's likely going to feel easier. It's likely going to feel more effortless. It's likely going to feel more full because that connection is going to be brighter, stronger, and more open than if you're like, okay, so, so and so said this is, or like, Emma said this is how she does it, so this is how I have to do it. Because I will never tell somebody this is how you do it because I have seen, I have experienced, I have learned that my way is my way, and I'm happy to share my way with everyone. And you may not have the same experience that I have through it because I have found my way to my way through a lot of experience and through a lot of practice, through a lot of trial and error. And so allowing yourself to really explore what that can look like. So what are some ways that we can connect with beyond the veil, right? Dreams is one. That is one I, I have not gotten to have a like deep experience with, and I'm really okay with it. And Siri thinks I'm talking to her, and I am not. I don't want you to unlock my iPad. I don't want you talking to me right now. Thank you so much. Um, Right. So the dreams could be a way. So the way that you might utilize your dreams is by asking a question or setting an intention as you're going to sleep of, I would love to connect with so and so, or I would love to see XYZ, or I would love to, here's a question. I would love to get the answer to it. And then as soon as you wake up, whether it's in the middle of the night or in the morning, you write down everything that you experienced, you saw, you heard, whatever, because there's one thing that is always true across all the different ways that you can connect in. One thing is always true. You will forget what comes through if you do not write it down like instantly. And it doesn't matter how strongly in the midst of it that you're like, I will not forget this. You will. And you know why you forget it? Because you are taking your brain offline in order to receive. You're creating this channel, this bridge, this tether, however you want to look at it, that is allowing this information to come through you, and it's bypassing your brain, and therefore it's not sticking. It's not sticking in you because it's not getting to go through your like brain receptors in order to remember it. So I can't tell you how many times myself and clients and different people have been like, oh, I will not forget this. And then 5 minutes later, we're like talking about a connection. And they're like, I can't remember. And I was so sure I wouldn't forget. I was like, yeah, been there, been there so many times. And so, regardless of the way that you end up communicating and connecting in, I implore you to write it down as soon as you can, whether it's, you're coming out of a connection and writing it down and going back in, or as soon as you come out fully, you then write it down or you speak it, right? If you're like, I don't like to write, I like to use my voice. Awesome. Send yourself a voice memo, right? Like it doesn't matter how you capture it. It's just that you do allow yourself to capture it because it will be gone. And then you will be like, dang it, it was so important and it was so clear. And like, why can't I remember it? And it's like, because that is how this works. If you can't remember it, you were connected. Like that is a sign that you were connected, which is like a bummer because then it's after the fact and you're like, dang it. And I can't remember, right? We've all been there. So, dreams is one. Meditation is another one, right? Like going into meditation and setting the intention or asking to call in a guide or asking to call in an animal or asking to call in a loved one or a friend or whomever. That is another way of going about it. Free writing is another way, right? You can write a question out or you can set an intention or you can, ask out loud, hey, I would love to hear what a guide has to share with me right now. And then you just write. You just write whatever comes to your mind, whatever comes through. You just keep writing, keep writing, keep writing. It doesn't have to make sense. And then as soon as it's over, great. Then you can ask another question if you want, or you can set another intention and just see what comes through. But free writing can be a great way of going about it if that is your way of doing it. You could, I don't know how this would look, but you could try it with, if you're like, I don't like writing, I'm a voice person, you could try it with voice, right? And say, like, ask out loud, this is what I want to know, and then just start talking and see what comes through and then listen to it back. I don't know. I have never seen that happen. But as I'm saying that, like, it sounds like it could be super cool. So if any of you do that, like, please let me know how it goes because that sounds fascinating. I'd love to hear how it works out. You could pull cards, right? I love cards. I ended up pulling a card as an example while I was on the Beyond the Veil experience, and it was so interesting. So I ended up connecting in with a childhood cat that I had, and I asked it, I was like, pulling a card is like, this is how you could do it. You could ask, I was looking at the image of the cat and his name's Locket and was asking, what does he want me to know? And, or what do you want me to know, Locket? And then pulled like a card popped out. I ended up connecting in with him when everybody was connecting in with somebody else. And it was really interesting to read the card after and see how aligned it was to the message that he shared with me. And so that's another way you can go about it is through pulling cards. You could draw if you're like a draw art person. You could set the intention or go into meditation and connect with the energy you're looking for, and then just like start moving your hand and start moving it and just see what happens. And you don't have to be an artist. You just could you be drawing shapes or lines or things, and then when you come out, you're like the message pours through you as you're looking at the image. Or as maybe you're coloring the image or painting the image, the messages come through, right? There's again, like I said, there's endless ways. These are just a few ways that you could go about it. And this is where like having a deep connection to your intuition is going to be so helpful because having that connection to your intuition is going to help lead you to your way. It's going to say, yes, this resonates. No, this doesn't resonate. Or it's going to like nudge you and say, hey, let's go do this thing. And you're like, why would I do this thing? Right? Maybe it's through you connect through going for a walk in nature or not in nature, just for a walk in general, right? Or I know somebody who ended up having an animal communication session while swimming at the gym in the pool, right? Like I said, endless ways for you to connect and to communicate. And this is why having that deep connection to yourself, to your intuition, to your connection to the beyond will help lead you to your way, will help lead you to all these different things. And you having an openness to be able to say, yeah, okay, let's try it out and see what happens is going to help you in discerning what is your way. And or do I have multiple ways? And it just depends on what type of connection I'm going for, or who I'm trying to connect in with, or what time of day it is, right? Like all of these things can play into uh, how it looks or what you receive or the way you go about it. Like there could be one way for somebody, or somebody could have like 10 different ways for 10 different reasons, you know? And so allowing yourself, this is like the first step to being able to have that connection, that relationship with the beyond. Because, right, dead on is like Mama G is to say that we fear mortality, but it's hilarious because we've spent countless lives in our physical body, therefore experienced death countless times. And something I was saying at the Beyond the Veil experience was, it's interesting that we have this fear because part of us already lives beyond the veil, right? Our whole soul does not fit into a human body, right? It is too large to fit into the human experience. Like that is our higher self, right? That we're communicating with is the wholeness of our soul that lives beyond the veil. And so, isn't it interesting that we fear the thing that we actually already have a tether to if we allow ourselves to go to it, right? If we allow ourselves to have that relationship. We just live in a time in a society that has never cultivated that within us and has actually really like created the fear that we all live with about it instead of saying, hey, like, let's have these like communing kind of circles where we get to commune and talk to those who are no longer here, right? Like we hear that, we see that, we're like, oh, witches or a seance, or ooh, that's like dangerous, or you're gonna bring in a demon or a dark entity. And like, I don't know. I have not personally had experience with that of like me myself encountering anything like that. And maybe it's because early on in my like whole personal development self help kind of process, uh my I called her my energy coach at the time because I was just like so not myself at I was obviously myself but like very conditioned and still like in religion and stuff. And I was like, but she was really my spiritual coach. Anyway, I think it was her, like really implored that you always want to say, I welcome in, well, how do I always say it? I welcome it, or I call in all those who love me unconditionally and are working for my highest good. And I call in any other angels or beings that want to participate in this reading. And I say that every time I open the space to communicate with guides. I won't say to Mama G or the divine because I rarely have to open the space before they're like there. Um, but if I'm, communicating with anybody, I tend to say that as part of kind of that opening space of I call in anyone, or I call in all those who are working for my greatest and highest good. And so setting that intention, I think honestly setting the intention over saying it is going to be the more powerful of the two, so that you don't have to always say it, because I don't always open the space before I'm communicating with somebody. And so setting that intention of like, I don't have time to deal with dark entities, or, these like darker energies. And it's like, I don't know. I feel like I could probably have a whole podcast just like on that, and my kind of beliefs around all of it. And we're not talking about that right now. So, right, like allow yourself to explore what this looks like for you and how you go about it, and what it like how it feels to have that tether, right? If you're like, well, I don't really have anybody who's passed to the other side recently. Well, you you have your higher self over there, right? You have guides that are over there. You have maybe childhood people or beings, animals from childhood that you could communicate with if you want to. Um, oh, excuse me. I am moving so much energy. And you have your higher self. So like 100% all of us can communicate and connect with our higher self that's beyond the veil. So if you're like, I want to create a better relationship, I want to understand, I want to feel into what it looks like, feels like, sounds like, which again, how you receive messages is going to determine kind of like what that whole thing looks like for you, because you may not be somebody who receives words. You may be somebody who receives knowings, or receives images, or receives feelings. And so going in with an open mind and open heart of what that looks like for you is going to be helpful, so that when you get in there and you're like, well, I don't hear anything, and therefore you just like shut it down, you're not shutting down the connection, because you are likely still connected. You just don't receive words. And so you're now, not having this connection because you feel like you don't have the connection, but you actually do have the connection. You're just not looking at it in the way that's like actually true for you, you know? All right. Well, this was a whole thing. So hopefully this was helpful for somebody, for all of you, for some of you in some capacity. I'm excited to come back on here. If there's any topics that you are interested in, or if you have questions for me or for Mama G or for the divine, we could, send them in. Um, and if you're interested, so these are a couple of new, okay. I'm trying to finish my my first thought first. These are a few new offerings that I just put out that are in collaboration with Mama G and the Divine. So with Mama G, there are personal messages. So I was offering those a while ago, maybe even like a year ago, and now we're offering them as like a service, as an offering. And there'll be 10. So for all three of these, there'll be 10 sessions or 10 spots a month for the time being. And they'll all be made available at the beginning of the month. And then, you do you if you choose to. And if you not, then great too. So that for messages for Anji, there's 8 available for the rest of November. And then there are healings with Mama G, and those are currently only for animals. And these are more physical healings. So this really came about with my dog Ranger, who a few weeks ago now, his elbow dysplasia flared and he couldn't really walk at all. And so anyway, long story-ish long, I guess. We kind of jointly did not kind of, we jointly did a healing on him, and his progress like drastically changed that day. And so we've done two on him since then, or two total. And these are really powerful and really potent and really fun to kind of collaborate in this way for with Mama G in a different way than receiving her teachings and messages. And those are currently November 2025, $44. All of the prices, except I think the messages, will be going up in December. And in December, part of her proceeds will be donated, but not for November. So, um, those are the healings and the personal messages, and then the divine is we're doing divine conduit sessions. And so this is where this can be physical or anything else, although I do tend to see that they're very potent when it comes to like mind stuff. So limiting beliefs or the way that you're like perceiving something, like your relationship with something. This is where I see like the biggest changes with people in these sessions. And so for him, there are also 8 more sessions for the remaining of November 2025. They are also $44, and $11 of his sessions currently are going to a nonprofit. And you can nominate a nonprofit when you sign up for the session. And with that, this for this month, I haven't found the one yet. However, it is going to have to do with feeding people of some capacity. So he has made it very clear that he wants the nonprofits to be of global scale. So they don't all have to be a global reach, but that they're not going to only be focused in the US. They will be focused for any nonprofit around the world that has to do with really anything. So he was very clear that he didn't want that I wasn't to choose them all because I would likely choose animal rescues as the main, receiver of these donations. So I feel like there was something else. For all of these sessions, it's very like at what you receive depends on what they choose to give you. I don't see as detailed as when I'm doing my own animal communication or healing sessions. And so if you're like, but I want to know exactly where the thing is or what is happening. I just know something's happening and I don't know where it is and I need you to tell me where. That's where like the animal communication and healing sessions are going to come in more helpful than these sessions because I tend to see a big picture, but not the like details that I do in the other sessions. So, anyway, if you're interested in any of those, you can find them on my website, connected-consciousness.com. And lastly, if you are interested in the membership, which is all about you getting the support and content and different guidance and advice and all the things for your way, right? You living as you in your way, reconnecting to you, reconnecting to nature, reconnecting to the unseen, reconnecting to animals, then reconnect. The membership is the place that you want to be. And there are 3 different types of memberships, and I tried to make it, as affordable as I could, as accessible as I could, as well as like giving as much as I can while also still finding the balance of feeling feeling the reciprocation of it all, right? And not feeling like I'm over giving and as a projector going into bitterness and all the things. So, okay, now we're good. Uh anyway, I hope this was helpful in some capacity. I'm really excited about the different things I get to offer here. I think this is going to become kind of like my newsletter slash all of the things because I prefer it. So, all right. I hope you all have an amazing day. Also, just like FYI, we have a full moon very, very soon, November 5th. So, if you're feeling the energy, that is probably it. And that is probably why. So, just be kind to yourself and to others because there's a lot of energy at play at the moment. All right, loves. I will talk to y'all soon.